Mhm. I have a new friend, Kimberly Traveler. She introduced herself to me at a recent open house. She said, I'm Kimberly Traveler. I don't have a home because I'm a professional house sitter. I travel the world living in other people's luxurious homes. Later in the week, I kept thinking, wow, Kimberly Traveler, Kimberly Traveler. And then it occurred to me that's a made up name. I figured it out because I'm Stanley. Stanley, not born yesterday, Smith. Welcome. Welcome to Sunday Coffee Hour. At Sunday Coffee Hour, we talk about everything and nothing. This Sunday, we talked about giving your mind over to Satan, getting a watch for retirement, having a watch wardrobe, multiple syllabic words, and how to get a reservation at Lehman Brothers. The readings at Washington National Cathedral were from Amos. A life without God is like a day without sunlight. And Thessalonians, we who are alive will not see those who have died because they will be raised before us. The gospel reading was about how at midnight there was a shout and the bridegroom appeared. It's the story of the foolish bridesmaids. No one knows what day or hour the bridegroom will appear. The sermon at Washington National Cathedral is by Joe Nygaard Owens, the new minister for digital ministries. She gave a sermon about who's in and who's out. She pointed out that the wise bridesmaids didn't help out the foolish bridesmaids. They knock at the door, but the door is closed for them. It's not very Christian. Miss Nygaard said this is because this is an allegory, not a parable. It's about God's ways and not our ways. It's not an answer to our questions. That's the main point. It's about the arrival of God's kingdom, not about answering our questions. Cho said we can contemplate God and God's kingdom through centering prayer, remuneration, and reflection. Jesus said we should stay awake and being awake to God and not by creating a reality of waiting for God. God doesn't want our gifts of grain or burnt offerings, but we want to bring those things because it's easier. Joe said, as the new minister for digital ministry, she isn't interested in Bible stories. She's interested in our stories and how we try to stay awake. It's the same story that God's been interested in before the advent of digital ministry. And she said he'll still be interested in it long after digital ministry is long forgotten. At St. James, the sermon was by Lisa Hackney James. Lisa said, we will see God face to face in the life to come, in the resurrection, or when Christ returns. She said, perhaps we'll even see God face to face in this lifetime. Some of the bridesmaids were invited into the banquet, and some were excluded. We will not see the dead because they will be resurrected before we are saved. We're all invited in our own particular time. We don't know the hour, and, we have an issue with it, but God doesn't. If he did, it would be the parable of the bad bridegroom. And last we checked, this is God's story, not ours. It's hard to divorce ourselves from our own story. We assume everything happens just to us. It's easy to see the entering in and the being excluded in our own lives, but it's hard to see that in the lives of others. In my difficult travels in church life, I just assumed I was alone in being persecuted, litigated against, and excommunicated because I never discussed it with anyone. But now I can see I was not alone. We all assume we want to be ushered into something, but sometimes being excluded can be a blessing. I saw Reagan Burke this week at the cafe at the base of the John Hancock building. Later the same day, I saw a blog post entry from her as she was trying to dissect the meaning of the troubling story about the maidens. Reagan said at her church, the minister said it was about being patient, but she wasn't satisfied with that. Patience for what and waiting for whom? We all have our moments of being ushered in and our moments of being excluded. We have our prejudice about which is good and which is bad. It doesn't have anything to do with patience or waiting. It has to do with God. We don't need to have a home in this earthly life. We can travel the world living in luxurious homes, the luxurious homes of others, because God has a home for us. We don't have to wait or be patient because it's already assured to us. My new friend Kimberly said she used to live in LA, and she learned living in LA that she should always have a gown ready to go for when the phone rang for an impromptu invitation for an award show, game show, or event. And apparently, Kimberly's phone rang often. We don't need to say anything in particular when the phone rings, but when it does, we can say a number of things like, sorry, wrong number, or nobody's home, or we can say, I'll be right there. There's no right or wrong answer. There's no wrong number. We all need to stop trying to figure it all out and just start living it. If you would like to join us at Sunday Coffee Hour is every Sunday at 12 noon Central Time on Zoom. I will include my email in the description of this video. I'll be happy to send you an invitation. And I look forward to seeing you very, very soon.